In organizations of all kinds, there are many qualities that people look to when searching for excellent leadership: integrity, openness, rational, and diligent. The list goes on. While many of these skills are transferable across industries, there are certain skill sets which only time spent in a particular job can create. Can someone who has never worked in emergency communications jump in and be a supervisor off the bat? We'll discuss that today. This is Lifeline. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lifeline 911 with your host, Erica.
Hello.
I am your co-host, Gary, and today we're discussing outside leadership. So, sometimes in industries, people come in from other jobs that have no relation to it and bring skills in with them and new perspectives as well. And a lot of times in our industry, we tend to promote mainly from within, which has its benefits and its drawbacks. So what we're asking today is, can someone who's coming in from the outside who has no emergency communications experience be a positive leader at their organization? Will they be able to get those skills, get the respect of their crew, and make good decisions?
Yes, I think so. If we're talking about the baseline skills that you need in leadership, like you said, openness, I think self-aware is another one that is major, because especially coming in to an industry like this one, if you've never worked in it, you are going to need humility in spades.
Sure, absolutely, yes.
You will. But I think that while you will need it in spades, I think that should have a limit, because humility doesn't necessarily mean that you're incapable of walking in the authority that the role will give you. So I think there has to be some balance there. But to answer the base question, I think so. I think there'll be some challenges, but yeah, they can.
Sure, because anytime you go to, even if you stay in the same industry, anytime you go to a new department or a company, if you're not working for the government, you're going to have to really work on these, the policies and procedural aspect of it. But, and so that's going to really be your big hurdle when you first start. But there's sort of also the mentality of, because it's a different work environment than the, like working at McDonald's or at a grocery store, or even like a AT&T call center.
Yeah, that is true. But it's a different work environment in that, and I don't know if that, even as I'm about to say it, I'm not sure it's really true now that I say it. I'm thinking about saying it out loud. Most of our employees work with little supervision, especially in a center as big as ours. The dispatchers come in, they plug in, and the truth is, we may walk the floor real quick. Hey, how you doing? Make sure ain't nobody, everybody's good. And after that, we may not talk to them unless something specific comes up. And that's not because we don't want to talk to them, but they are self-sufficient and they have the autonomy to do the job without how do we put it at the end of our training, without the need for intense supervision or intervention.
It's
not necessary. So that might be a little different in compared to some work environments. Like, I remember my very first job was McDonald's. The manager did oversee just about everything. Now, they weren't there saying, flip the burger, flip this, and take the fries out. Yeah, but they were that roaming eye that was constantly looking over everything. Every now and then they may go to the back and do whatever paperwork was required, but they never were back there for very long. And they were still kind of keeping an eye. And we do that to some degree, but not nearly as much.
Right.
So I think it's a different work environment in that regard.
Yes. So to me, kind of, it looks like there's sort of three main areas that a person coming into supervising needs to have knowledge on. So you've got the knowledge of the policy and procedural manual, which for somebody in a supervisory role is very important to have. And that's going to be something that whether you come in from another agency or come in from an outside industry is going to be something you need to learn.
Absolutely.
Then you've got knowledge of the job. So that's how to do the nuts and the bolts of it. So you can effectively supervise people. Not saying that you need to be the world's greatest call taker or dispatcher, but
you need to at least be bronze.
Yes, yeah. You need to at least understand how to do the job, so you can train and coach your people to do better when they make a mistake. And then you have sort of the third aspect, which is that sort of cultural change that you're going to have from many other industries. So I think the best way to kind of tackle this question would kind of be to go through those one by one and see how somebody from the outside, how easy or difficult it would be for them to come in and integrate themselves into a new position. So so picking up with like the policy manuals, like how would somebody from the outside fare with that?
I think in the beginning they're not going to fare at all. They're going to immerse themselves in the policies and procedures, but it wouldn't be as simple as that, because they're going to need to come in and learn first how to be a call taker, even if it's just, like say ours is 6 weeks. Let's just say for the sake of this conversation, it's 8 weeks long. They would need a minimum of 6 in order to take these policies and procedures, a book that's going to be this thick that we're going to give them. And you know what I mean? They're going to need some practical application. So they need the bare bones minimum of it, because usually it's about 6 weeks, and then they QA or do their final live testing, if you will. And in that process, they get to apply a lot of the policies and procedures in said book. So in the beginning, they're going to be quite deer in headlight kind of situation, because even after we give them the practical application and some of the hands-on that will come with that, there's still the practice of putting it all together. Still critical thinking that has to happen, that is different in public safety. Because, that saying, all common sense isn't common. That might be true, but then add our industry into the mix, and all common sense is not public safety common sense. It's different.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they're going to have that big hurdle that anybody moving to a new either promotion or a new department or outside are going to have, where you've got to figure out what your nuts and bolts policies, procedures are, and how to kind of supervise with that. Now, if it's somebody from the outside sector, theoretically, they may already have supervisory experience, so they know the soft skills of how to like talk to somebody, how to coach somebody, how to give correction, because those are sort of universal in terms of like, you can be a drill sergeant. Well, you probably would approach things a little bit differently if you were a drill sergeant, but you could supervise a gas station just as well as you could supervise a restaurant in terms of like dealing with the employees and the customers.
Sure. Yeah.
But actually, like, reading through those big old thick policy and procedural manuals, that's going to be, your job no matter where you work at. So coming into our industry, the challenge with that I think people would have is that if they find a policy or procedure that's like not working or not great, it's not as easy as snapping your fingers to get that changed around. It sometimes takes not a literal act of Congress, but maybe an act of city council,
real close
to change things.
Yes. And anybody working in a bureaucracy knows that that's life in a bureaucracy. I think that is going to be one of the challenges, especially if they're coming from the private sector into this big machine that we work in, where every little A and D has to go through 15 steps before anything happens. That can be a culture shock.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
For sure. Because I remember, well, just, and granted, that's been some 20 years ago, but I still remember the culture shock of coming into the 911 center from any job that I've ever had. It is more structured than anything I've ever done. That's not to say that others didn't have structure. It just was not as rigid as this is. This is the way we do things. Yes, you have some leeway on how you do it, but for the most part, this is it. And if you deviate, there can be dire consequences, unlike I would imagine in some other professions. So they'll have to navigate the culture. And like we discussed before the show, the employees in this realm are they're a little different.
Sure.
A little different.
Yeah.
A little different.
That is one way to put it. Yeah.
You know, there was an episode called Entitlements that we did not too long ago. And I love my people and they know this, but in any of them listening or be like, yeah, that's us. Yes, that is us. We are confident in our ability to do our job. And so when supervision and or leadership comes to us and challenges us in that, we can get a little bristly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that might not be the case in wherever they came from. So they're going to have to learn how to navigate that, especially when that bristly personality says, well, you don't even know how to do my job.
Yeah. Yeah. And they also might find it a bit of a culture shock. Like in the private industry, you can fire somebody real easy, whereas generally in the public industry, it's not quite that way.
Oh my God. Yes. How did you put it, Gary? They get, what was the recipe? It was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, like, you get 3 warnings, and then after that, you get, like, a yellow card. And if you collect 4 of those, then you get an unhappy sticker. And if you get a whole booklet of unhappy stickers, then you get a memorandum of being, better. And if within 6 months you do that 5 more times, then, you're going to move up to a talking to. So, it's a whole process that...
It is. It's a thing. I mean, we say it all the time, and I'm sure any city government type, entity is probably going to agree with this. You have to be a moron to get fired from the city. How dumb do you have to be? And by that, I mean dumb behavior, not dumb person, dumb behavior that you could, because I mean, you get chance after chance. Like you said, what is that? Three frowny face stickers, then you get the yellow, and then you get, and after you collect so many, frowny face stickers and then the yellow stickers, you got to have 5 of those, and then together those mean that now it's time for us to actually talk to you about this behavior. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the private sector, probably by sticker number 3, you've been told. You're not even going to get a yellow card, ma'am, sir. Next time we see each other, it's going to be across the desk and I'm handing you your last paycheck and it deuces.
Yeah. And, it doesn't really matter, I don't think, very much how big or small the department is. If it's, a government department, it's going to be much, much harder to cut somebody loose. So for a supervisor coming into the emergency communications profession from the outside, that's going to be a big change that you've got to overcome.
Yeah. And I think I said when we were just having the discussion ahead of time that one of the challenges for them will be to learn to operate within the existing policies. So You may not be able to create brand new policies, and the likelihood of you coming up with a bright idea that is going to reshape the whole thing is unlikely. Reinventing the wheel you will not. Learn to operate within the scope of authority that you're given. That can be its own challenge.
Mm-hmm. And then on top of sort of those policies and procedures that you've got to learn coming in, which everybody does, whether you're promoted or not.
Yep.
Then you've also, if you're coming in from the outside, you've also got to learn the job. So like how to do the job. Because if you come in, like if you're promoted up to, an internal leadership position, theoretically, you've proven competent to at least do the job where you were at.
Yeah.
But if you're coming in from the outside and you've never taken a 911 call or dispatched a fire truck or an ambulance or a police officer, like you've got to start from scratch. And
Yeah.
it is likely that there will be some people that do not wish to see you succeed because you either took the job from them that they were going for, or as you said, we're a very tight-knit community, but sometimes that turns into a closed-off community. So coming in from the outside, you're going to have a lot of people checking on you to make sure everything's correct.
Yeah. And we can be gatekeeperish in our mentality. Instead of inclusive, we can be exclusive. But that's because and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it is what it is. We speak a language that not everybody does. We think about, a problem in a little different way than your average person does not, which is what I meant earlier when I said we will have to teach them to think critically, and we will have to help them develop public safety common sense. Not because regular, everyday, get through life common sense is not the same as public safety common sense and good judgment. I believe they have to be taught and developed over time, just like leadership skills.
Yeah. Because, how many times do you get a call from somebody or a text from somebody saying, hey, call me, it's an emergency. And so you call them, you're like, what's going on? And they're like, I forgot my phone charger. Can you bring it to me or something?
If you don't get off of my phone, because because when we see that, we are bracing ourselves to basically, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm like getting ready to go to work in my thinking.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to go, sorry, y'all, my dog is barking in the back. Ain't nothing I can do about it. Sorry, it is what it is.
It's all good.
In my mind, I'm getting ready to go to work. I'm thinking, okay, when they pick up the phone, they're going to tell me that this happened and that happened, and I'm steeling myself, putting on my public safety hat, because they're going to tell me the sky has fallen. Let me get this straight. Your life and death emergency is your phone charger?
Yeah.
You just thought it was life and death. It's about to be life and death. I'm going to kill you myself.
Yeah, and that's kind
You
of
never felt that way about some of your friends and family, Gary. Come on, tell the truth.
No, I agree. Because you've got that's kind of what you were saying earlier, is that's that mentality change of like what the job is, that you have to kind of drill into yourself. And coming from, say you worked at an accounting firm as a supervisor over accountants, I don't know, your emergency might be, hey, the books aren't balancing, we need to figure out how to do this double bookkeeping again.
Yeah,
or something.
We're going to pull an all-nighter to get it straightened out kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's a different, and while you may kind of approach those situations the same way, like, okay, this is a big problem, it needs to be solved, whether it's the accounting error or a plane just crashed into a building, but the stakes are generally very different,
Yes.
because in one profession, while accounting errors aren't great, generally nobody dies in those.
Generally.
Yeah.
generally, unless you're keeping the books for like, I
The
don't know,
mafia,
Jimmy the
Al
Mouth or
Capone.
something, Jimmy the Mouth or,
Yeah,
that guy. Then I can't help you with that. Call me after it's over kind of situation.
exactly. But I would say that it is important and a necessary step not only to be a good supervisor in emergency communications, but to also a requirement to be able to build not only the respect, but more importantly, the trust of your team that you do know how to do whatever their job
Yes.
is. Because if you
Yes.
don't, then they aren't going to feel comfortable coming to you with a question.
And that'll be the biggest challenge in the beginning is they will, because that happened to me, even as and I've been in the industry and this is my second time working at this agency. So I've got, as you put it beautifully one time, I've got great grandkids running around there as far as whom I trained from way back in the day. When I promoted into supervision, they knew that I did not know some things, right? It wasn't about whether or not I could do the job. They knew that my level of expertise had shifted and changed. And so they didn't come to me with supervisory-esque questions. They bypassed and went around. It was like literally water flowing around a rock. They were like, nope, not going to ask her anything. She's dumb as a box of rocks. She don't know nothing. And it wouldn't matter where you work. That's most likely going to be the case, at least for a little while, until, you begin to, for lack of a better way to put it, prove yourself and prove that you have some understanding, some baseline knowledge of either the mechanics of the job or the policies and procedures or both. It's a growing pain. I don't know that it's avoidable.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I would say that being able to at least have a fundamental understanding of the job, to be able to do it, to train in it, you shouldn't skip that. So if you're going into a place, if you're from the outside the industry and you're trying to apply to be like a supervisor at an emergency communications center, and whoever's hiring you is like, oh, we'll just skip you past the training. Insist that you go through it, because
Agreed.
it
Yes.
will do you a world of good to understand what the job is, and it'll also do your team a world of good so that they see that you know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And they will, don't get me wrong, they know and they will know that you are not as skilled in it as they are. What they're looking for is some relatability. They're looking for some humility. And you could not have said that better. Well said. Insist
Thank you.
that you go through it, because, and I can speak to that to some degree, because while it irritated me to no end to have to go back through 911 call taking, even after I hadn't too long ago done it, it was better in the end for the team to see me on the floor with my headset, taking the same calls that they were taking. And I was not going to do it. I got it. And it was interesting whenever it was time for break time, right? And, well, you're going to be the supervisor, so you're allowed to get this perk or that perk. And I insisted on not having that perk, because in this moment right here, I am one of you. And I think that's where that humility comes in. You need that coming in the door, and hopefully, even after you're done, you don't lose that. I think it's a key trait in leadership, is to have that humility.
Yes, absolutely. I recently had the chance to work a radio for a few hours the other day, and I love dispatching. It's so much fun.
Yes.
And I miss it a lot. So anytime I get a chance to work a radio and any excuse I can take,
Same. Oh my God,
yeah.
yes.
And I do it not only because I love it, I also do it to keep my skills up in it, because there are things that you forget. It's a perishable skill set.
Sure.
And then on top of that, you also build a lot of street cred with your folks when they're like, oh, you know, Erica put on her headset. She dispatched a call, or she took a 911 call. She wrote a report.
I'm like,
She knows how to do this. Okay. All right.
shocking. And we always say that. It's just amazing to me. What do you think? I just dropped out of the sky into a supervisor spot? I just woke up one day and, well, the truth is, here soon, most of our episodes come out of real experiences. And so there is a very real possibility that we will have a colleague or two that will be coming into our center from outside in, possibly the public sector. And we are now having to consider what we will do to welcome them and bring them up to speed. And it is going to be work, not only on their part, but on ours as an organization and as their supervisory colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say to the ones that would rather not have them be there at all?
Right. And I think that kind of leads well into our, the third part, which is the cultural change that you have from coming from outside. And we kind of touched on that a little bit with not being able to fire people, not being able to easily just make a change in policy. You've got, especially if you've come from the private sector, that's really going to be something foreign to you. But also just, building up that comfort level with your employees that they can trust you. And I will say also that if you're on the receiving end of that and your center has somebody from the outside come in, don't be afraid to give them a chance. It's hard and it sucks. There's a piece of me that's like, no, you need to come on up here through the grime and the grit like we all did. And that's just inside me, and I can't get rid of it, but I can acknowledge it. And I can work to better myself if and when that does happen, to welcome them as I would any other new employee and show them as much as I can and teach them as much as I can, have patience with them and consideration and really train them to be the best they can be, because I won't always be here.
That's true. And especially in supervisory leadership, I think it is our responsibility to show the way, right? So when we buy in and welcome and lend them our credibility, for lack of a better way to put it, that shows the front line like how they came in or don't like how they came in. They are here. They applied, and somebody somewhere saw value in what they had to bring to the table, or they wouldn't be here. Even if it's not a choice we would have made, regardless, they are here. And so, come on, Angie, Dave, whatever your name is, come on this way. Don't mind them. I got you. Let me bring you up to speed, however long it takes. And constantly, encouraging them to walk in the authority that they have been given, especially as a supervisor. We tell this to the dispatchers all the time. You speak with the authority of the chief. You speak with delegated authority. And it would be no different for this person. So as the supervisors, we have to model the behavior we want from the floor. In this case, no matter how we may loathe to have to break with what is our tradition, right? Our tradition is we hire, you come in and your belly is to the ground and you claw inch by inch, like on any given Sunday, you bring yourself up through the ranks, and that is how you reach the pinnacle of leadership. And no, we don't just, who are you from outside? We don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But since that's what it's entirely possible that we'll be doing that, we have to model the respect and the camaraderie and the professionalism that we want from the floor. It has to start with us.
Yeah. And just like with any new employee, give them a chance, see if they can maybe do something to amaze you. Because one of the things that being so cloistered off and so internally focused that our industry has is new ideas sometimes are hard to have. I mean, one of the
Yeah.
reasons we do this show is to spread ideas, and we invite on guests to talk about their ideas, what they're doing, how they're doing it. But we're all still inside of the industry, maybe tangentially, because when our the folks from like Bursaterm come on, but it's all kind of emergency communications or emergency
Yes.
responders centric. But if you have somebody coming in from, maybe they run a dairy farm or something, manage the dairy farm,
Yeah.
what new ideas could they have? And they might suck, but it might lead you to think about, oh, you know what? That was stupid, but we could do it this way. That's a great idea. Maybe church it up a little bit when you tell them that. I don't know.
That might not, but I like where you're going with that. You know what I mean? I'm not sure that would work, but that does give me another idea. You know what I mean? You have to, because we have had some good ideas come from new hires. That's one of the things that we as an industry struggle with so much, where we get so locked in to the way things have always been. So when someone goes, oh, well, maybe you ought to do it this way. We go, you've been here 15 minutes, shut up.
Yeah.
How can you possibly have a good idea? You've only been here 15 minutes. Which is funny, because the very reason they are here is because somebody somewhere saw value in what they had to bring to the table. And here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like,
We're terrible.
it's a delicate balance, because, I mean, you don't want to
Yes,
tear
it
down a
is.
fence just because there's a fence in the middle of the field, that it may serve some purpose. But at the same
True.
time, if the fence is old and rotten and rusty, it may need to be torn down. Like,
Agreed.
and a new
But
set
it's
of
always
perspectives.
been there, Gary. How dare
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. It's like the what is that, the roast beef or no, the pot roast analogy, where, like, lady's cooking pot roast for her kids, and so she cuts off the end of it and throws it into the trash, and the kid's like, why do you cut off the end of it? And so the mom's like, I don't know, my mother always made it that way. So they go to
Yep.
her mother, and her mother's like, they ask her, and she's like, I don't know, my mother always made it that way. So they go to the grandmother, and they ask her, and she's like, well, when y'all were little, I only had a small pot, so I had to cut off the end of it so it'd fit.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
Yeah, story
That's
time with me.
crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, like, there may not be a good reason for why things are done, or it may have been like, yeah, we had to do it that way, so
Because
that
of-
like the mimeograph machine would be able to read it or whatever. And
whatever.
we don't
And
use those a lot.
And we don't even remember why we started doing it this way. We've just always done it this way. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
coming in from the outside, there's going to be a lot of challenges, and it's going to be a lot of hard work if you want to succeed. But it is a chance for you to bring in some new life, some new energy to the industry. And if you're already in the industry and you're watching this, give those people a chance. You might be surprised.
Yeah. Absolutely. And they deserve it, because you were given a chance too. So leave it to me to keep it real. Somebody gave you a chance, even while you were driving the struggle bus. We didn't kick you off of it.
And I live on the struggle bus.
Hey, when I first started, oh my God. I tell people all the time, my name was hanging from the little rearview mirror, and my name was on the license plate of the struggle bus. So I get it. And look, 20 some odd years later, here I am.
Mm-hmm. Well, and now you're a trainer and a supervisor, and look at all this opportunity and all these great
All
things
the
that have come
things.
about.
Exact, because somebody didn't kick me off the struggle bus. Got it.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you spent your day with us on the struggle bus, and we appreciate y'all listening. If you're out there in the world and you hear this and you're thinking about joining an industry like ours, feel free to shoot us an email, or if you're concerned about that, you can also shoot us an email to lifeline911podcast@gmail.com, or leave a comment down below. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and we thank you very much for listening, and we will see you all next week.
Thank you for watching our production of Lifeline 911. If you have any questions about today's topic or topics you'd like us to cover in the future, please reach out to us at lifeline911podcast@gmail.com. This has been a production of Lifeline 911 Podcast, copyright 2025. From all of us at Lifeline, stay safe out there. And until next time, this is Lifeline 911 signing off.